Hey guys, Hailey Lain aka Key Black here, and welcome back to another episode of Off the Cuff. On today's episode, I wanted to talk to you guys about an old 80s anime series. This one is actually old, I get to call this one old, called Ronin Warriors, or in Japanese, Yoroiden Samurai Troopers. Jess showed me this series about 3 or so years ago, back when I was living in Australia, and inherently, I'm gonna be covering spoilers in today's episode, so fair warning. It's one of those really cheesy old anime series where you've got your team of heroes who are all color-coded, they all have individual powers, but they come together as a team based on the same kind of gimmick. You got your sidekick supporting cast characters, you got your ancient sage character, you got the main villain, and of course his team of hyper-loyal bad guys. And the plot is basically the heroes have to stop the bad guy from taking over the world or destroying it, whichever, you take your pick. In some ways, it's kind of a generic storyline for that kind of series, but it is a lot of fun to watch, and the dub is a national treasure. How many old animes, dude, do you think you're gonna get main characters who sound like Michelangelo, dude? The main reason I want to talk about this series is one of the villains in this series who basically becomes the Vegeta with the full redemption story arc, which, as you guys probably already know by now, I'm a sucker for that kind of thing. I like the bad guy characters who become good guys, I like the good guys who are kinda secretly bad guys but are trying their best to be good guys, and the character in question who falls into this category in Ronin Warriors is named Anubis, not to be confused with the Japanese version's character, which is named Anubis because they switched the names around for some reason in the English dub. I'm talking about the English dub's Anubis, the guy with the long red hair. He of course starts off the series as the cruelest of the villain team, with his final attack named Quake with Fear! I can't do it any justice, but the voice actor goes wild on that line. And in general, he talks a bit like this, a very stereotypical villain accent. He is seriously half the fun of watching the show. He's just so out there. But yeah, he starts off as basically the most evil, the cruelest of the bad guys, and starts having this character development where he starts to kind of question the leadership of the evil Tulpa, who's, you know, the big bad guy of the series. Not out of any direct intentional insubordination or anything, but because he has his own moral code that he won't deviate from, and Tulpa constantly wants him to do so. At some point, kind of towards the end of the first season, he starts having his change of heart, and each one of the characters in this series who has an associated set of armor, that's kind of the gimmick of the series, they all have basically a personality trait or a value that is associated with the armor that they wear and which they represent. The 5 good guys have, you know, stuff like virtue, grace, wisdom, life, things like that, and the bad guys, the 4 bad guys who all serve the Tulpa, have this kind of warped set of virtues. I guess they're the direct opposites. The virtue is written in kanji on the character's forehead as well. It glows when they're about to like represent that virtue. And Anubis's anti-virtue at the start of the series appears to be cruelty, of course, but then it kind of starts getting revealed that his virtue is actually loyalty. And he kind of has this encounter with the good guys and with the Ancient One, who's kind of the sage of the series, you know, the advisor, where he looks inward and starts questioning why it is he's following Tulpa. He has his kind of change of heart at that point, at which point Tulpa then imprisons him, of course, kind of puts him in this torture chamber, and then at the end of the first season, Anubis dramatically breaks out and join with me, Wildfire, to attack a Tulpa for like this big final move. You know, it's a really cool climactic moment. It's just fun. It's like, yes, give me all the cheesy stuff. This is exactly what needs to happen in this kind of story. And then in the second season of Ronin Warriors, Anubis kind of comes back. The Ancient One, the sage, kind of sacrifices himself at the end of the first season, and then he seems to reappear, but it's actually Anubis wearing his garb, kind of trying to follow in his footsteps and truly redeem himself as a person. And this is where some of the really fun Anubis character development happens. You know, he reappears a few times, is a lot friendlier and more helpful with the main characters than he was before, of course. And then there's this one point where he reappears to save Mia and Yuli, who are the sidekick characters from another one of the bad guys. They're of course scared of him at first because of what he did to them in the first season, and it's really cute, you know. He kind of has this moment of, ah yes, they still fear me, that's understandable. But then, you know, the sidekick characters, the kid Yuli goes, no, you know what, you're our friend, aren't you? You came to save us. And then Anubis sheds a tear when he thanks him, and it's like, ah! Lord help me, I'm a sucker. There's some really sweet episodes after that. There's a straight up fluff domestic scene out of a fanfiction in one episode where it's Anubis helping Mia look something up on a computer, and then he goes off to defend them when the bad guys show up at the door. That's one of the episodes I go back to the most frequently. But with all of this really fun, character development stuff, this kind of great storyline within this otherwise extremely cheesy but immensely fun anime, at the end of it all, Anubis has this really dramatic, self-sacrificial ending. He basically sacrifices his own life to save another character, gives her his armor. In so doing, rescues her from the clutches of the evil bad guy and then gets her on the good guy team side. And when his energy finally gives out, he falls dramatically into the Golden Lake, which... At this point, you would think Yuli is in possession of the Jewel of Life. You would think Yuli would run up and, crying tearfully over Anubis' sacrifice, the Jewel of Life would start to glow and revive Anubis, and then he would be, it'd be this great scene. But no! Yuli runs up and cries, but doesn't do anything else. There's no Jewel of Life shenaniganry. It's like, what? What is the Jewel of Life if not the Jewel of Life? But they don't even give him a Viking funeral or anything. They leave Anubis face down in this golden water. So when the camera pulls back, the last shot of him looks like him face down floating in a piss lake. So while that's hilarious and I've made a sticker out of it, I couldn't accept that. So I immediately went off and I drew what I wanted to happen in the end. And you can see that on my website. I got it posted there. But all in all, it was a very fun series. I of course find myself revisiting my favorite Anubis moments from time to time, and I can happily and without fear add him to my list of fictional crushes. Anubis is a great character. So guys, thanks so much for listening and for watching. I'm gonna cap it off there, and I will catch you guys in the next episode of Off the Cuff. See you then.